All right, let's talk about something super important in your AWS cloud, network traffic. We're going to figure out how to see exactly what's moving through your virtual private cloud so it's not just a big mystery. So picture this. You've got this awesome setup in your virtual private cloud. Everything's running smoothly. And then boom, a connection just dies. Your app can't talk to the database, or an EC2 instance can't grab its updates. You're just stuck. It really feels like you're staring into a total black box, right? You're completely blind. Okay, so let's get our detective hats on. In this explainer, we're going to learn how to find the clues, the little breadcrumbs that'll help us solve these super frustrating network mysteries. And we're going to do it with a really powerful tool that AWS gives us right out of the box. All right, first up, the network black box. That's the scene of the crime, right? It's that sinking feeling you get when you know something is busted with your network traffic, but you have absolutely zero visibility. But don't worry, AWS gives us a killer forensic tool. The source material puts it perfectly. VPC Flow Logs are made to capture all that detailed info about the traffic moving around your VPCs. This is our magnifying glass. So let's get to know our main investigative tool a little better. What in the world are VPC Flow Logs, and how do they actually work? Okay, here's the bottom line. VPC Flow Logs are a feature that just records IP traffic. That's it. Think of it like a security camera pointed right at your network interfaces. It logs every single packet trying to get in or get out. And what's cool is that you have total control over where you put these cameras. You can turn them on for a whole VPC to see everything, or maybe just a specific subnet to zoom in a bit. You can even get super granular and just watch a single network interface on one EC2 instance. That kind of precision is just awesome for targeted detective work. Okay, so we're collecting all this evidence, right? But a pile of evidence is useless if you can't understand it. So next up, we gotta learn how to actually decode this data and pull out the real clues. See, every single line in that log file, it's not just a bunch of random text and numbers. It's a story. A really short story, sure, but it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it describes one single network conversation. And every story has its main characters, right? In networking, we call this the five-tuple. It's basically the who, what, and where of the conversation. You've got the source address and port, that's who started talking. The destination address and port, that's who they were talking to. And the protocol, which is like the language they were using. You know, TCP, UDP, that kind of thing. And every story needs an ending, a climax. That's the action field. This tells you the final verdict. Was the traffic accepted? Did it get through your security rules? Or was it rejected? Did something slam the door in its face? Honestly, this one little word is so often the smoking gun you're looking for. All right, we've collected our clues. We know how to read them. Now, where do we put all this evidence so we can analyze it? Let's talk about where these logs actually get stored. So, AWS gives us a few options, our evidence lockers, if you will. You can send them to Amazon CloudWatch Logs, you can dump them in an Amazon S3 bucket, or you can even stream them through Amazon Data Firehose if you're doing something really fancy. Now, picking the right spot depends on what you're trying to do. Think of CloudWatch Logs as your live, real-time dashboard. It's perfect for setting up alarms like, hey, let me know if a bunch of SSH traffic suddenly starts getting rejected. Super useful for day-to-day operations. Amazon S3? That's more like your cold case archive. It's for long-term storage, for compliance, and for when you want to run big, heavy-duty queries with something like Athena to dig through months of data. S3 is usually cheaper for just storing stuff, but CloudWatch gives you that instant access when you need answers now. Okay, enough theory. Theory's great, but let's get our hands dirty. Let's put these new detective skills to the test and actually solve a case. This is where you're going to see just how powerful these logs really are. So here's the mystery. It's a classic. You're trying to ping one of your EC2 instances from your laptop. You hit enter and nothing. Just crickets. The connection times out. So what happened? Where did it go wrong? All right, let's trace the evidence, step by step. First, the ping hits the security group. Now, remember this. Security groups are stateful. That's the keyword. Stateful means they have a memory. If they let a request in, they automatically let the reply go back out. They remember the conversation. So the ping gets in just fine, no problem. But then it hits the network ACL, the NACL. And our inbound rule on the NACL also says, yep, pings are okay, let it in. But here's the twist. NACLs are stateless. They have zero memory. They treat every single packet as a brand new event. So just because it let the ping in, that doesn't mean it's going to let the reply go out. You need a totally separate outbound rule for that. And in our mystery, that rule is missing. So, bam, the NACL blocks the reply, dead in its tracks. And how do we know for sure this is what happened? We look at the logs. The flow logs are the smoking gun. You'd see log entry number 1, the incoming ping, from the outside world to your instance. And the action says accept. Perfect. The ping got there. But then you see log entry number 2, the outbound response, and the action says reject. There it is. That's all the proof you need. Case closed. The stateless NACL did it. So we cracked the case. Awesome. Now, before we wrap this up, let's do a quick recap of what we've learned. And just as important, let's talk about what VPC Flow Logs can't do. Okay, time for the detective's notebook. Here are the big takeaways. Use these logs to figure out why your security groups or NACLs are being too strict. Use them to see what traffic is actually hitting your instances and figure out which way that traffic is flowing. And here's a huge bonus. Turning on flow logs won't slow your network down one bit. Not at all. It has zero impact on performance because all the data is collected on the side. But look, even the best detectives have their blind spots, right? And it's super important to know what VPC Flow Logs don't see. They won't show you traffic going to the Amazon DNS server or for Windows license activation. They don't see that instance metadata traffic or DHCP stuff. You gotta know these limitations so you don't waste your time chasing ghosts during an investigation. So there you have it. We've given you the tools and the know-how to be a real network detective. You can finally take that black box and turn it into a crystal clear source of clues. So now, the only real question left is, what mysteries are hiding out there in your network?